Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about the top 3 digital nomad cities for newbies who are just starting out, for intermediates, as well as our picks for nomads who are more advanced, who've got a bit more cash to blow. So let's get right into it.
Digital nomads. As you probably know, when you're looking for a city to live in as a digital nomad, there's a lot of different factors you're looking at. And there's one that I don't see really talked about very much that is very important. So probably the first key factor you're going to be looking at is cost of living. And that's really important for a city. The next key factor you have to look at is also the type of community that's in that city. Where if you're just starting out, you're going to need to meet other people who are also on this journey and looking to advance themselves. So that's going to be very important for you. The third thing that not many people talk about when I was first doing my research is the time zone and how important that can be to you depending on what kind of business you have. If your businesses are more related to clients in the United States, then you're probably going to need to have live in countries that are more flexible with those time zones. So first off, for beginner digital nomads, these are people who are just starting off. Maybe you've saved up a little bit of money, have like $10,000 in your bank account, or just a few thousand, and you're looking for the city that you can base yourself in that's not too expensive, that has a good community, and is a good place to get started. So where I actually got started was Chiang Mai, Thailand. I actually moved to Thailand with just a few $1,000s in my bank account and just the dream of making money online. And the whole story of that's for another video. But as soon as I landed there, I found that Chiang Mai is like the mecca of digital nomads. It's where everyone from all parts of the world goes to if they have this dream to start an online business. And that means it's also very saturated. So I think of Chiang Mai as more of a newbie city because most of the people living there are more new to being a digital nomad. They're still trying to figure it out. Some of them are teaching English. If you're looking to just start your journey of making money online, being an English teacher is very hard to make a decent living unless you are willing to move to like Shenzhen, China, in the middle of nowhere. Then your life might suck out there, so keep that in mind. But anyways, if you're looking to get started and you have the type of business you're running is more maybe drop shipping or you're creating some sort of products or something like that, then Chiang Mai, Thailand is the place to be. That's one of the cities where you can meet all the other people who are just starting out. You can get networked and make a whole bunch of friends just without knowing almost anyone. And also in Chiang Mai, I feel like it's like the stakes are lower over there. Like everything's cheap. If you have to bribe the police for not having a Thai license, it's like a $6 fine. If you go there not knowing anybody, then you're going to be able to make friends very quickly. So it's a really great place in the Asian time zone. That's a great place to get started. Maybe you can tell them about Medellin, which is one of the best beginner cities.
Got it. So Chiang Mai is great if you are doing something that's not dependent on the time zone. However, if you're a freelancer or agency, good luck making progress in Chiang Mai. Once you head to that time zone, we've seen this over and over with our friends, your business stagnates. I've literally seen this with 2 of my friends, and Ryan couldn't make his business work until he moved to Medellin, and then 2 of our other friends, they actually moved to that time zone, and one of them, his business basically just stagnated for like 3 months. While during the same period, Ryan and I's business, it like literally 1.5 to 2x in some cases. And then another friend as well, he was doing really well, and he actually went back in growth. He lost revenue just because he was in that time zone. It's just so much harder to make things work because you're in a time zone where you have to be up at 1 a.m. to talk to clients. It's a lot more stressful. You just not are at optimal performance. So avoid Chiang Mai if you're doing the services based for US clients. If all of your clients are Australian, yeah, maybe that works. But if you have US clients, Canadian clients, avoid that. Now let's talk about another option that's way better if you're in a service-based business. For example, if you're a freelancer or agency, you work with US clients, that is Medellin, Colombia. Now, Medellin, Colombia is one of my favorite cities. It's pretty much the same as America's time zone. And the cost of living is great, especially if you don't live in the gringo part, which is Poblado. If you live in Laureles, which is a really nice neighborhood, you could literally live on 1,500 USD a month pretty comfortably. Now, Ryan and I, we were living in Poblado. We were renting like penthouses and pitching in together, but we were still not spending that much. Honestly, at a certain point, we had one of the best penthouses in the city. It was actually us and like 5 friends. So we were like 7 of us living in the 6 bedroom penthouse. Kiefer and KWOW, they were splitting a room. They were splitting a bed. They were literally sleeping in the same bed. But it was probably one of the best penthouses in the city with a rooftop pool. We were all in there. We threw some epic parties, had some epic adventures there. And honestly, we weren't spending that much. And me and Ryan, we each had our own room.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, that just goes to show, like, Medellin's an awesome city because, number one, there are a lot of digital nomads, so you can meet a lot of really, really cool people who can teach you a lot. Number two, the quality of digital nomads is quite high. It's significantly higher than the quality of digital nomads in Chiang Mai, from what I've heard. And Ryan, you can attest to this as well.
Yeah, I will say Chiang Mai is, in my view, is more of an easy city. So that's where a lot of people go to get started, but that's people who are really afraid to take very much risk to go out to other countries. Chiang Mai has a lot of benefits. I actually really love Chiang Mai, but when you're just getting started, it may be better to jump in a little bit more full force and go to somewhere a little bit more edgy, like Colombia. Medellin, Colombia is one of the best places that you could start out. And it will also very quickly force you to upgrade yourself in order to afford more things there and to live an even better lifestyle. And the lifestyle in Colombia is very, very nice too.
Yeah, the one thing I loved about Medellin was the lifestyle was just amazing. We'd go hit the sauna and go hit the rooftop pool. There would be these amazing views everywhere in the city. You would basically be able to go eat at these amazing restaurants that were relatively affordable. The nomads there are usually very high level. Ryan and I actually found like a couple of guys there who taught us a lot. They basically taught us how to kind of grow our business, and we learned so much from them. So the thing is, if you go to a city where everybody's a food blogger and is struggling, you're not really going to be able to meet people that can help you get to the next level. While in a city like Medellin, just hanging around, being a cool guy, you'll meet cool people. And the key is just provide value, be a friendly guy, invite them to social events, invite them to parties, and you're gonna make some really amazing friends. Like, we met friends who are like literally running agencies that are so much bigger than ours, businesses that are so much bigger, and all we did is be like, hey man, we're having a little get together at our house, at our penthouse, do you want to come by? And we built that relationship. So you want to offer value, you want to socialize. This whole building a business thing is not really dependent on just you sitting at home grinding 12 hours a day. It's also dependent on you getting out there on the weekends, socializing, meeting people, because these people are going to give you the important pieces of information that will allow you to accelerate your growth. Between the time I arrived in Medellin and the time I left, my business grew something like 30x or 20x in revenue. I was basically a struggling freelancer when I arrived, and when I left, I had a strong agency with multiple employees, and I really credit that to the people I met there who taught me so much. So Medellin is my pick for digital nomad city to start out with.
I would definitely agree with that. I will say on the European side of things, if you are looking for a good nomad city to start out in, since we're looking at things in terms of time zones, the European time zone is very flexible. You can still hit a lot of the US time zones very easily, and you can also hit Australian time zones without too much of a struggle. So my pick for the best city is Lisbon, Portugal, for starting digital nomads. So yeah, Lisbon, Portugal. So I lived in Lisbon for about 3 months, and it definitely wasn't one of my favorite cities. It didn't have a lot of the things I normally like in cities, didn't have as many of the adventures. But on the flip side, it did have a very strong digital nomad community, and it was a very easy community to pop into, where if you are going there without knowing anybody, you could live in Lisbon, maybe not in the best area, but in a relatively nice area for maybe your cost would be around $2,000 a month living there comfortably. And it could be a bit lower if depending on what you get. So Lisbon, Portugal is, I would say, one of the best cities for beginner digital nomads in the European time zones and European area.
Yeah, Lisbon's a cool city. I don't know, just go to Medellin. It's just better, in my opinion. And also the cost of living in Lisbon is significantly higher than Medellin. The thing is, in Medellin at 2,000 USD a month, you live really well. In Lisbon at 2,000 USD a month, you kind of are, you're struggling a bit. Like you're still living, but you can't really go out much. While on 2K USD a month in Medellin, you're pretty much living like in a nice condo, in a nice area. You're able to go out regularly to eat, able to take weekend trips and so on.
So now, some of the best cities for intermediate digital nomads. So what I count as an intermediate digital nomad is someone making around $5,000 per month, like at least, where they've kind of figured it out, where their business is starting to make some money, but they're not balling out yet, as we say in Canada. They're not doing extremely well. They're still figuring things out, and these are some of the top cities I think for that. I would say probably in the Asian time zones. There would be two that come to mind. Number one is Bangkok, Thailand. Bangkok is a huge, sprawling city, and if you're making a bit more money, then you can live a very, very nice lifestyle. Of course, you can live cheaper in Bangkok, but if you have more money, you can have way more fun there. There's a huge, huge digital nomad scene in Bangkok as well, and there is a lot of trouble you can get up to in that city, which makes it even more entertaining. Also, Bangkok is a major hub city, which is so you can fly out to other places in Southeast Asia really easily. So since you have a bit more of that disposable income, you can actually go and travel and do those things. So I would say in Southeast Asia, Bangkok is one of the best places for the intermediate nomads. And probably rivaling it, I would say, is Bali, Indonesia. If you're looking for more of a relaxed vibe, more of a surf town, but it's not as cheap as Chiang Mai, but it's a bit more cheap than Bangkok, then Bali would be a nice place to go. Just stay away from the Australian tourists. They are a nightmare down there.
All right, so my pick for intermediate city, and it's the same as my beginner city, is Medellin. So whether you're a beginner or intermediate, Medellin is awesome. When you're kind of struggling, you're starting out, it's still affordable. But once you start making a little bit of money, you're able to live like a lifestyle that's a bit better. Let's say you can spend 4,000 to 5,000 USD a month. You live like an absolute king in Medellin. You have a cook, you have a cleaner, you live in probably one of the best apartments in the city with an amazing view. You can probably even get a penthouse with a couple buddies. Honestly, I spent a good portion of my intermediate phase in Medellin, and the lifestyle is pretty epic. And it's just so like reasonably affordable that you're not worried about spending money, but at the same time you just have such a great quality of life. So many great digital nomads. The community is just mind-blowing. Like, I will go back to Medellin any day of the week. It's a beautiful place with awesome people. And the last thing I want to mention is the culture. I love the Colombian culture. I love the vibe of Medellin. It's absolutely different. You get there, you feel the energy. You hear reggaeton playing everywhere. You just like get into a nice mood. And I feel like it's a place that reinvigorates me, and I've made huge progress in my business because I can go there, work like 7-8 hours, 10 hours a day, and then afterwards I can completely relax because the whole place feels relaxing. So again, Medellin for intermediate level as well.
Yeah, and I will say for the European time zones, if you're in the intermediate level, probably one of the coolest places I've been in Europe was Budapest, or as I say, Budapest. So Budapest is a really good city for intermediates, where it's not super cheap, but it's not super expensive. You can live a very nice quality of life there. And there's also a lot of opportunities for you to go and visit other parts of Europe. When I was there, I was still a bit more on the broke side, so it was a little bit harder for me to have fun in Budapest. But it was a city where it was very lively. It had a pretty strong digital nomad community down there too. So if you're looking for somewhere with a more European vibe and you're more in that intermediate phase, then Budapest is probably one of the best places you can go. There's a ton more cities in Europe, but that really comes down to your preference. And when it comes to digital nomad communities, Budapest just has one of the biggest out of all of those cities, and that's one of the main ranking systems that how we're viewing these potential places. So I think that wraps up our choices for the top 3 intermediate places. So now, top 3 places for the advanced digital nomads. So this is for people who are usually making over 10K a month with their business. Depends how you cut it. It could be like 10K revenue, but mostly profit, or 10K profit. The people who are advanced and actually have a strong business built up and the flexibility to live almost anywhere in the world. So this is the stage that when most people get to it, you stop looking at places in terms of, does it have a good digital nomad community? Because you've kind of grown past a stage where you really need that to thrive in a city. You probably, if you're at this point, you probably have a good social circle, a bunch of friends. At this point, you already kind of know what you like and don't like about different cities, and you're willing to explore. And for us, this is a city that we really agree on. We found one of our favorite cities in the world to be Sao Paulo, Brazil.
So the thing I love about Sao Paulo is after living in kind of smaller cities for a couple years, we lived in Medellin, we lived in Kiev. So basically, we wanted a city that was bigger, where there's cool stuff to do all year round and has good weather all year around. And what really drew us to Sao Paulo was that basically it's the biggest city in Brazil. It's kind of an unexplored place. Even though it's the biggest city, nobody really comes here. All the tourists go to Rio. It's also a bit safer than Rio, and this is where all the entrepreneurs and really smart people in Brazil are. All the smartest people in Brazil come to Sao Paulo, and my Brazilian friends really recommended I come live in Sao Paulo. So basically, the things I love about Sao Paulo is, number one, it just feels like you can blend in here and be kind of a part of the city because there are not that many tourists. So you come in here and it's really easy to make friends here because people are super friendly, super open to foreigners. And the other thing I love about the city is there's just so much to do. So there's any kind of food you want. So you're able to, get really authentic Indian food, and the waiter literally speaks Hindi. You're able to get like the best Japanese food. Sao Paulo has the biggest Japanese diaspora and expat community outside of Japan. So the Japanese food is unreal. Italian, anything you want, you can get here. Lebanese food, etc. The other thing I love about Sao Paulo is that there's just so much to do. It's a huge city. You can explore so much stuff. For example, you can go to all these museums. The nightlife is amazing. One of the best nightlife. It really pains me to say that we didn't really get to experience it because of this whole COVID thing, but the nightlife has been absolutely insane. The other thing that also I really liked was that it's easy to meet really high quality local entrepreneurs. I've met a bunch of cool local entrepreneurs here, so I can learn more about the Brazilian entrepreneurship community and so on.
I will say Sao Paulo, out of all the countries I've been to, Sao Paulo has given me one of the warmest receptions that I've ever had in any other country. That goes with everyone from women to just people on the streets. When they see that you're a foreigner, it's like they welcome you in with open arms, which that usually doesn't happen as much in cities that are less explored. So Sao Paulo has culturally just drawn me into Brazilian culture, into Brazilian funk music as well, more or less, and really made me feel like welcome in this country. So when you're looking for one of those more advanced cities, then you're going to stop looking at places in terms of the digital nomad community and start looking at it in terms of things you can do, adventures you can have, things you like to buy, things you like to eat. And Sao Paulo ended up checking off a lot of boxes on our list for that, and that's one of the reasons why we ended up coming down here.
Yeah, and one thing I really want to emphasize, and I missed this point earlier, is that Sao Paulo is like living in a New York City kind of thing, but much more affordable. And we're literally living in one of the top neighborhoods in Sao Paulo, and we're paying less per person for each room in this house than I would have paid in Toronto for a studio apartment in the center of Toronto. So we're living in a pretty awesome location, living in an awesome place. Lifestyle is relatively affordable. I'm definitely spending less than I would in Toronto but the lifestyle I'm living is so much better, where food is taken care of, cleaning is taken care of, anything I need is taken care of. So overall, I'm able to live this awesome lifestyle in a big city, which I really felt I wanted, because I felt frustrated by the limited options in cities like Medellin and Kiev sometimes. And that's where Sao Paulo wins. It's a metropolis, but it's affordable as well. And it's not a cold city like most metropolises where people are unfriendly. It's actually super friendly. So it's like the best of all worlds.
But then once you get to that stage of being a digital nomad, then you're going to have a lot more flexibility to really choose what's the most important place for you. So there's other cities that we can mention. I haven't been to Barcelona, for example, but I have a lot of friends who have absolutely fallen in love with there. And there are some more high-level cities in Southeast Asia that you could check out. Some people live in Japan, South Korea, etc. But once you get to the level of making over 10K a month, then you have a lot of flexibility. That's a more advanced digital nomad. And that's when you're more likely well-traveled, and you'll be looking to settle down in a place more than keep popping from place to place. So that's just what I've seen from a lot of my other friends. Yeah, I think that's our advice for people looking at the different stages of being a nomad and where you would probably want to live.
We love Sao Paulo. I would say my two favorite cities, Sao Paulo and Medellin. If you told me that I would be stuck between these two cities for the rest of my life, I'd be like, all right, sure, I can make that work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think eventually when you find that city that really speaks to you, you'll realize like, okay, if I had to live here for the rest of my life, I'd be pretty happy with that. That's when you find the city that really speaks to you, but it's going to take a while of traveling. So, thank you very much, Shash, for being with me on this video. I really appreciate it.
All right, guys, smash the like button and subscribe if you want more videos like this from us.
If you want to make $1 million per month, you need to follow us and subscribe to this channel. We don't have that much business advice. That doesn't matter. Anyways, goodbye, everybody.